Good afternoon, YouTube. Arizona RE here. And I'm going out for a little test ride, and if I've done everything right, you folks should have me in stereo and 1080 high definition, and you should see my sporty new helmet. So I made a few upgrades. I have a microphone upgrade in the helmet. I also have prototype 1 of what I am affectionately calling the MotoVlogger Thunder Trap. So the MVTT, MotoVlogger Thunder Trap, is a microphone set up for the sole purpose of capturing the exhaust sound of your motorcycle while you're riding. So if I have done this right, as I said, you folks should have me in 1080 and in stereo, and there should be a little extra thump to the sound of the motorcycle. Boy, this road is a lot more fun when there aren't other people on it. Instead I have to float in that weird spot between third and fourth gear. Either I'm revving it all the way up, or I'm lugging it down. At any rate, I went ahead and picked up a new helmet because with the new microphone configuration that I was trying for, my modular helmet, the one that you normally, that you've seen every MotoVlog so far in, that helmet really wasn't conducive to how I needed to route the microphone in order to get to the GoPro. So what you see on the front of my helmet now is a much cleaner setup. You have the GoPro and the hook and everything's all in one spot, whereas before I sort of had to have a loop in the wiring dangling out while I was riding around. And while that didn't present any problems, for me, I just didn't like the way it looked. But ultimately, I knew I wanted to upgrade microphones, and that's what this is. So this is one of those Sony stereo microphones, and it is placed just underneath my chin, but still being blocked by the windscreen there. I have wrapped it in dead cat material. For those of you unfamiliar with that, it's the fuzzy stuff that they put on the big microphones when they're recording ambient sound in rooms and things like that. And so, from an earlier test that I did, it seemed like I've cut down pretty much all the wind noise, except for whatever squeaks are getting through the visor in the helmet. Another thing, too, is that when I had my visor up, the shield up on the helmet earlier in that test, it really didn't sound too much different, at least not at lower speeds, which on my other helmet it made a huge difference when I was using the shield up versus the shield down. So this microphone seems pretty well protected the way it's set up now. Like I said, you should be getting it in stereo. And of course, I've got the MotoVlogger Thunder Trap hooked up. Prototype 1 here, folks, so it's not the perfected system yet, but I'm going to see when I put it through the spectrum analyzer which sounds come through the biggest. Is it the high end or the low end sounds? I'll tell you what, if this GMC wants to get ahead of me, I'm going to let him. So just a quick demonstration with the visor up. That's with the visor up. And this will be with the visor back down. So really not a lot of difference. At least it wasn't when I did my test earlier. You know, we'll have to see what it comes out to now. But this seems all right. The other thing that's been kind of challenging for me has been aiming this GoPro. So this 3 Plus with the 1080 ultra wide. Unfortunately, I guess the 64 gig card I had in the Hero 3 White, GoPro is telling me that now that that card was used in my Hero 3 White, it's married to that camera, which kind of seems, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. But at any rate, I can't seem to get the firmware folder to jump over to the folder on the SD card in order to update the firmware with my Wi-Fi settings. So every time I want to test the image on the camera, I can't use the app on my phone. I have a BlackBerry, and for those of you that don't know, BlackBerry will run pretty much all of the Android apps as well. So I'm using a BlackBerry using the Android app, but I can't use that app to aim the camera because I can't update the firmware in this camera, doing the moving the file over to an SD card. When I called the helpline, which I was actually surprised, they picked up the phone. It wasn't one of those wait and go through automated phone service hell first. So I was pretty impressed with that, but I was a little disappointed with the explanation that the SD card is write protected by the original camera I installed it in, because it helps protect from firmware getting hijacked. And I get that, okay, I get that, but so for that reason I can't use that SD card in another GoPro camera? That sounds kind of silly to me. I don't know. If somebody out there knows what I'm talking about, or maybe if I have it wrong, please straighten me out by all means. I'd like to be able to update the firmware. It's got the most current firmware, but what it doesn't have is it doesn't have the refresh on the Wi-Fi. So that's what I was looking to do, is refresh on the Wi-Fi so that when I turn the Wi-Fi on, I can just log into it with my cell phone. So those are some of the issues I've been having, and as a result, I have to aim the camera, go out for a ride, bring it back in, look at it on the computer, and see if it's about right. If I need to move it a smidge up or a smidge down. As you guys know, I try to frame, obviously turning in curves like this doesn't work because you always look where you go where you look. But when I'm riding flat out like this, I try to frame the handlebars in the bottom of the picture, but still have the horizon up ahead, so that you get as close to a view of being on the bike as possible. And that has proved challenging without the phone app. When I first tried it with the Hero 3, of course, 1080 did not have the Ultrawide, so I had to use 720. But that was all right. With the 720 and the phone app, I could aim it pretty good. That's where most of my videos have been. But with this camera, I haven't been able to update that Wi-Fi yet and got them to sync, so the aiming is still just a little bit off. And I just rolled over 4,000 miles on this bike. 3,500 of those are mine. So I'll go ahead and take this opportunity to tell you folks about some of the other gear I got, and that's my helmet, the full face helmet, as I discussed earlier. And you will not believe the deal I got on this. It's on clearance at Cycle Gear because it's got the black and gray with a gold pinstripe, which of course my bike here has hand-painted gold pinstripes on the tank. I was good with that. I guess this thing it didn't really match the color theme that most folks like, so it just never sold. So as a result, guess who went in there and picked it up on clearance, and then got to use my discount. That is my professional discount. So after I used my professional discount, I walked out of the store with this thing under 40 bucks, a brand new helmet. A brand new full face helmet that's actually pretty quiet and is actually, except for that wind pushing on the side there, and is actually quite comfortable. It's much, much lighter than that modular helmet. So I think there'll be less fatigue in the long run. Also, too, because of the way that modular helmet that I was using was configured or set up, or however the cheek pads were, it kind of limited my jaw movement for talking. So this will make me a more freer flowing blabbermouth. You folks ought to enjoy that. At any rate, thank you for watching, and if you got some recommendations about how to fight the fight with the GoPro SD firmware update, please let me know if you know what that is about. Also, go ahead and feel free to comment on the video quality and the audio quality. That's one of the things I'm looking for. Again, I'm not developing this microphone for sale. Once I've developed it to a point that I think it can help folks, I plan on letting each and every one of you know exactly how I did it. No cost, no charge. Or if you want me to make one for you and you're a MotoVlogger, you know what? We'll go through the process, and I'll see if I can't make them cheap enough to where you just cover the cost of materials. If you're not, if you feel like you're not skilled enough to walk your way through it. Anyway, thank you for watching, and have a good weekend. If that scooter guy wanted my bike, he totally wanted my bike. Totally wanted her. Who could blame him?